Hey guys, so this is kind of a first for me. I have done classes before for YouTube, usually just little 10-minute clips that are also available on this particular page if you're interested. But that was pre-quarantine, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So I am currently navigating some pretty uncharted waters, but we all are right now. So all we can do is kind of take things day by day, breathe, and hopefully turn to things like yoga and meditation or anything that will help ground us for even a moment. Because my attitude always is, if we can give ourselves even just one moment where we can feel some relief, we can feel a little grounding, we can feel some peace, that's a moment we wouldn't have had otherwise. And we are living in a moment-to-moment world right now. The protocols that were in place at 8 a.m. are different protocols than what we get at 12 p.m. So we're just gonna have to sit tight and kind of take things as they come. So for those who have never taken my class before, my first rule is I want you to listen to your body first and listen to me second, especially in terms of a YouTube class or an online class. I really can't see what's going on. The only person who's going to know what's going on really is you. So make sure, again, listen to your body first, listen to me second. Everything I suggest is exactly that. It's pure suggestion. Now that being said, we can still use props even if we're at home. If we don't have yoga blocks, we can do things like use boxes. If we have small Amazon boxes or shoe boxes, I fully recommend filling it up so they don't collapse under your weights. We can use blankets, we can use pillows, we can really MacGyver whatever it is we need to MacGyver. And likewise, we don't even really need a yoga mat. We just need some space where we don't feel like we're gonna slip and fall, and ideally maybe a little bit of padding for the knees. So with that being said, I also want you to make sure you give yourself permission to give yourself the next half hour, 45 minutes, however long this class is gonna end up being, to devote to yourself, to have a yoga practice. The reason why group classes work the way they do is because the environment permits us to focus on only our practice. When we are at home, we don't have that same permission, especially if we share our house with other people, with children, with pets, with any number of obligations that the house demands. So if you can, if it's possible, I invite you to explicitly give yourself that permission to devote the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it might be, to yourself. And with that being said, we're going to start in any easy seat. It doesn't have to be how I'm seated. It can be whatever feels comfortable. It could be kneeling. It could be sitting on something. Make it your own. Likewise, make whatever you want your hands to do your own as well. Maybe we want them in the lap or on the legs, maybe even on the heart. I know when I'm feeling very frazzled and ungrounded, as I am over these past couple of days, I really love just placing my hands over my heart. But again, I want you to do what feels right for you. Now, if it works for us, I invite you to allow the eyes to close. And maybe we can give ourselves a moment there. And just in that stillness, notice. Notice that beating heart. Maybe notice any sounds around you if there are sounds. And then I invite you to notice where you're connecting down to the ground today. So can you notice where the pressure lands on your hips and on the sides of your legs and on the sides of your feet? If your legs are crossed in any particular way, I invite you to notice how that feels. As one leg as in front of the other or on top of, the sensation of our knees being bent. And then I invite you to do a body scan. And what we might do is we might start by bringing our attention to the top of our head and allow our attention to work its way down. And as we do so, I want you to just check in without any judgments. Just notice how things are. How is your jaw right now? Is it possible to allow that jaw to relax? Let those top and bottom teeth get a little space in between. Is it possible to notice the shoulders? Can they relax down just a little bit more? Again, notice that heartbeat. Again, that heartbeat isn't inherently good or inherently bad right now. It's just an indicator of things. Maybe we can notice what happens with that heartbeat as we take a breath in and we take a breath out. And maybe we can draw our awareness downwards, down to the back, the hips, knees, ankles, and feet. As always, if there's any spot that needs a little extra TLC today, a little extra understanding, I invite you to notice and acknowledge that, but without judging ourselves for it. And if we find that we are judging ourselves for that, can we at least be neutral about the fact that we're not neutral right now? And then maybe we take a few moments just to focus on our breath. Again, there's so much that is out of our control right now. We can't even control our thoughts. But we can work our body and work with our breath to help out the mind. So maybe we take a moment to notice how it feels to breathe in and how it feels to breathe out. Again, maybe we're repeating that at your own pace. It doesn't have to be when I'm cueing it. Maybe we notice that inhale and we notice the exhale. Now I invite you to do what is known as balloon breath. This is also known as 3D breath or 360-degree breath. And what we might do is let it be completely visual first. Maybe we imagine some type of balloon, and on our inhale, that balloon inflates. And on our exhale, the balloon deflates. Again, we might repeat that. On the inhale, the balloon inflates. And on the exhale, the balloon deflates. Now, if it is possible, can we imagine our rib cage to be like that balloon? Maybe on our next inhale, we're inflating the ribs just like it was a balloon in all directions. And the exhale relaxes it down. So as we inhale, can we think that rib cage expanding out in all directions? And the exhale, bringing it back. So always mindful, we don't have to count if counting doesn't work for us today. But if it does, I invite you to give yourself 3 more deep breaths. And if we would like, we can bring our hands together at the heart if they're not there already. Maybe it's that palms over the heart, maybe it's palms together. We decide which one we want to do. And we'll set a positive intention. And what we might do is we might try to think of a positive trait, something that we could carry with us off the mat. And would it change anything about today's practice if we allow that to be our focus? Like the very practice we're doing is cultivating that trait. And then we could take in an inhale that works for us. And the exhale could rest our hands against our legs. And always mindful the eyes could remain closed for as long or as little as we need. And maybe on our inhale, we'll let our arms reach up towards the ceiling in whatever way we want them to. And on our exhale, we'll let them float back down. So we might repeat this. We might inhale and let our arms come up. And exhale and let our hands float down. So I invite you to start going at your own pace. Can our inhales be our reminder to bring our arms up? Our exhales, our reminder to bring our arms down. Now, if it's possible, we'll do this 3 more times. Now, if we would like, maybe the next time our arms come up, we'll pause there. And if it feels good, we'll come into a twist. And as we twist to the right, we can allow our hands to come down. Maybe they're on the floor. Maybe we place them on our leg. It's up to us. I'm going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Now maybe on our next inhale, we'll come back to center and let our arms reach up. And on our exhale, we'll twist to the other side. The hands can come down in whatever way we need them to. We're just going to try our best to stay tall in our back. We're going to do our best to breathe in. Our best to breathe out. And maybe we find a flow with this. And flow just means breath with movement. So maybe we could inhale our arms back up as we come to center. And our exhale will twist and the hands can come down. And we could repeat. The inhale brings us up. And the exhale gives us a twist in the other direction. And I invite you to come into this at your own pace, starting to repeat this movement. Again, can we let our inhales be our reminder to come back to center? And our exhales, our reminder to twist. So if our breath goes out of sync with the movement, if we find that all of a sudden we went on autopilot, the mind went somewhere else, that is okay. I truly contend that that's not a disruption of practice, that's part of our practice. Notice when that happens. And it is a when, it's not an if. And when it happens, we do our best to acknowledge it. We do our best not to judge ourselves for it. And then we try to come back. So those inhales to bring us up, and the exhales to make our twist. So maybe we have one more twist left, or maybe we have a few. Again, no rushing through this. We're on nobody's timetable but our own. If we find we are done, we'll come back to center. We might shrug out our shoulders. It's always nice to just add that in, a little extra movement through the neck. We'll come onto our hands and knees. So some people like to roll forward onto their shins. Others will take their legs and swing them around in front of them. And when we are ready, we'll come into a tabletop position. So again, checking in. If the wrists don't like this, we're welcome to either walk the hands out, go onto our fists, go onto our forearms. We have a lot of options. We'll just do a few cat-cow movements from here. So maybe we just drop our belly down and take a deep breath in, and we round our back up like the Halloween cat with a deep breath out. So we could repeat this. We could drop the belly down, and we could round our back. So again, just making that time our own. Now I invite you to continue this movement, and I invite you to notice which breathing pattern works for us. I had been suggesting exhales for the rounding of the back and the inhales to drop the belly, but we don't have to do that version. There are benefits to inhaling to round the back and exhaling to drop the belly. The only thing that matters here is we're going to combine our breath with movement. That's our moving meditation, especially for those of us who have a hard time being seated and meditating. This is our chance to find those same benefits, but with the body moving. Now, if we are ready, I invite you to pick whichever pose we want to end on. So maybe we want an extra back rounding or an extra back bending. We make that time our own. Once we are ready, we'll come back to center. And once we're here, we're welcome to take a moment for the wrists. It might feel good just to shake them out. Another option is to stretch our wrists by placing the top of the hand on the mat, one hand at a time. That gives us the ability to control the amount of weight that goes into that wrist. And then we're going to try our balancing table. That looks different on everybody. So again, we only want to go to our level and our level alone. If we are ready, we might take our left leg and let it stretch out behind us. This could be our pose. This takes balance, this takes core strength. If we feel like there's a little bit more for us to explore, we might be light on our opposite hand, that right hand. We could also walk the hand out with the hand still on the mat. We could also reach the arm out in front of us. Again, notice our personal level today, and then notice if we can come back to that breath. Again, it's human nature to hold our breath in the midst of challenge, but we're going to notice that impulse and then override it with a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Maybe one more breath here. And if we're ready, hand and knee can come down. We might need a moment here, a little shake out, a little roll out for the wrists. And if we're ready, we try it on the opposite side. We can let our opposite leg kick back. So again, we're asymmetrical creatures. We use our bodies in asymmetrical ways. It's okay if this side feels a little different or we have to do a different version. Maybe we're on the left hand nice and light. Maybe the arm reaches out. Maybe the arm lifts up. Again, if we don't have space, we're always welcome to either readjust or maybe we bend the elbow. As always, we want to see any quote-unquote disruptions like this not as disruptions, but part of the practice. I'm going to try our best to breathe in. I'm going to try our best to breathe out. And then when we're ready, hand and knee can come down. We might shake everything out. We might roll out the wrists. Now, if we can, we'll find our way into our child's pose. And we might prefer our knees to get closer together. We might prefer them farther apart. It's up to us. We could shift back and maybe back and down. But again, notice what we need here. It's okay to come into one version, realize it's not for us, come out of it, do something different. We have the option of reaching our arms out in front of us. We might prefer to stack the forearms and rest our head on that, especially if we feel our forehead can't comfortably find the ground. Another option is to place the hands by the legs or even behind the back. And when we are here, when we found the version that works for us, I invite you to notice the ground again, especially when we are feeling ungrounded. One of the best ways that we can help center ourselves is to literally find the ground. So can we notice how that mat or whatever is underneath us feels on the tops of our feet, on our shins, on our hands, our forehead? Can we notice that pressure and just give it a deep breath in and a deep breath out? And then if we would like, we could stay here. In fact, we could stay here for the rest of practice and just listen to the auditory cues, and that will be a full practice. If we are ready, we'll come into our down dog. So it might feel good to come back up. We might need to readjust the knees. Maybe we like to walk our hands out a little bit, but we'll make that time our own. We'll try our best to let our fingers spread wide as we curl our toes. Hips could travel back and knees can stay down. If it feels good, knees can come up and we could just focus on letting our hips travel back. Maybe we like to let the legs straighten out, maybe not. Again, notice our version of this pose. And it might feel good just to pedal out the heels. So mindful that a lot of us, our heels are never going to touch the ground. My heels won't, and that is bone structure. So we're not going to try to force the heels to the ground. We're just going to notice what stretch feels good. Likewise, if there's any additional movement we would like to add in at this point, we can. I'm going to deliberately stay vague. If we have a vinyasa flow practice, you are welcome to add in the vinyasa movement of your choosing. If we are not sure what that is, no worries. Maybe we just stay in this pose right now. And whatever we found, is it possible to give it a breath in and a breath out? When we are ready, we'll find our first forward fold. Some like to walk their feet in. Others might walk their hands towards the feet. We want to make this pose our own. Likewise, we might prefer our knees to be bent, especially if our low back disagrees with this pose. If the low back disagrees even with the knees bent, we're welcome to keep our hands on our legs and keep the shoulders above the waist. Now, if it is possible, I invite you to shake out your head. Maybe a little head nod. It is human nature to want to hold the head up a little bit, and the more uncertain we feel, the more likely it is we're going to hold our head up in a forward fold. So this is our chance to practice a little bit of surrender, even if that surrender is for literally one moment. And we might find we need to shake out the head again. Again, just giving ourselves that one moment, just let everything relax. And we'll try our best to breathe in. And we'll try our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we'll come up to stand. We might prefer to bend the knees and press the feet down, a little lifting with the legs. Maybe we walk our hands up. If we're ready, we'll let our arms reach up and overhead. And eventually, we'll let our hands find their way to the heart. We'll pause here for a moment. Maybe we can notice that heartbeat again. Notice how it feels to breathe in and breathe out. Now, if we can, we're going to do 3 half sun salutations. When we are ready on our inhale, we can bring our arms up in whatever way we'd like. On our exhale, we'll find a forward fold. We might soften the knees as we come down, make that time our own. On our next inhale, we'll find a halfway lift. So we just want to think strong back as we come halfway up. Maybe the hands are lightly on our shins for support. And on our exhale, we'll relax it back down. On our inhale, we come back up, little press through the feet, engaging through the core, keep that back safe. And eventually our hands can come back to the heart in the way we want them to. And we might repeat that. So we could inhale our arms up and overhead. And we can exhale into our fold. We could inhale, halfway lift. And we can exhale, coming down. Our inhale brings us all the way up, pressing through the feet, pressing through the belly. And eventually hands can find the heart again. Maybe one more time. We'll inhale as we come up. We can exhale as we come down. We can inhale for halfway up. And we exhale for back down again. We'll inhale all the way up when we are ready. Those arms can reach. And eventually we can exhale our hands back at the heart. Maybe we can pause here. Just notice the pose. Notice that heartbeat again. And without trying to predict what the heartbeat will do, what happens as we breathe in? What happens as we breathe out? And now we are going to try to come into our chair pose. So whether our feet are hips width distance or together, it's up to us, but we'll try our best to let our toes point straight ahead. As we are ready, we'll let our hips shift back and down, and as they do so, maybe those knees can point in the same direction as those toes. The arms can reach up by our ears. If that doesn't feel good, we are welcome to let the arms reach straight ahead of us. We can bend the elbows. Hands could come at the heart. It's up to us. Again, trying our best. Notice that pose. Notice the challenge it's creating. We're going to, again, try our best to let those knees point in the same direction as the toes. I'm knocked-kneed myself, so my knees tend to collapse into each other, and so I need extra work to let those knees point straight ahead. Again, we're trying our best to hold this pose, but not hold the breath. We're almost done. Notice that challenge if we can. Find that breath in. Find that breath out. One more breath. And then when we are ready, we'll let ourselves find a forward fold. We'll readjust. We'll come down. And we'll let this be any forward fold we need. So I invite you to do whatever feels right. So maybe we hang heavy. Maybe we have our knees bent. Maybe it feels good just to shake out the head. Maybe we want our hands on our elbows or the hands behind the back. Make this time your own. And we'll try our best to breathe in. And we'll breathe out. Can we notice the pose? And do our best for an inhale. And do our best for an exhale. So as we are ready, we'll make our way back either to down dog or child's pose. Again, make that decision on your own. This is your time. Hands can find the mat, and we might step back. And if we're doing child's pose, the knees might come down. If we're doing down dog, we could let our hips shift up and back. What do we personally need right now? We're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Maybe one more breath here. And then as we're ready, we'll let our knees come down if they were up. We'll make our way into child's pose, and we'll take a moment here. Again, I invite you to notice how the mat feels underneath our hands, underneath the forearms, the legs. Again, any version we personally need. If our hips don't naturally come towards the heels, it's okay to have our hips a little bit lifted. Make that time your own. We'll try our best to breathe in. We'll try our best to breathe out. And then if we are ready, we'll make our way into a seated position. Maybe we can walk ourselves back. Some will roll over their shins. Others will let their hips go one way and swing the legs in the opposite direction. We might extend the legs out for a moment. Maybe it just feels good to shake them or move the feet. I always like doing a little movement between my seated poses. If we're ready, we'll find our way into a bound angle pose. We can let our knees bend. The soles of the feet can meet and the knees can go out towards the side. Now we can adjust as we need to. Some like to do a little rocking of the hips. We might prefer our heels close to the body. We might prefer them far away. If this doesn't work for the knees, we are welcome to put things underneath our knees like blankets or even couch cushions to help. If not, we come out of the pose entirely. And then we're going to take a moment here. We can choose to be upright in this pose. We can choose to lean back in this pose. We could also choose to lean forward in this pose. And I invite you to pick any of the three that work best for us today. So again, all three of these are perfectly valid. They just bring something different to the table. I personally like doing a little leaning forward. It focuses on the hips, and that leaning over feeling can feel a little protective. Especially during times like this, that protective feeling can be very reassuring. But again, make that time your own. We're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Can this get 3 more breaths? Now when we are ready, we can all meet in that upright position. Maybe we let our knees come up, we can let our legs straighten out, we might shake them out a little bit, we might move our feet a little bit. We're going to find the forward fold of our choosing, and that might involve readjusting the hips. Maybe the knees are bent or straight. It's really up to us. We'll take a moment, we'll get tall, and then we'll start to tilt forward if we want to tilt forward. Hands might stay close to the body, hands might walk out. It's up to us. No judgments here. If we touch toes, we touch toes. If we don't, we don't. No judgments. Just make that pose your own. And can we notice how the pose feels? Again, can we notice sensation? It's okay if it's challenging sensation, but if it goes into pain, we want to ease back. And what happens as we breathe in and as we breathe out? What happens to this pose as we inhale and as we exhale? Can we give this one more full breath? Now if we are ready, we are welcome to come back up. We might shake the legs out a little bit. We might move our feet a little side to side. And when we are ready, we'll come down onto our mats or onto our backs. So what we might do is just make sure there's enough space for the back. We come down in whatever way we need to. Maybe we like to walk back or hold on to the knees and roll back. And once we're on our back, it might feel good to hug the knees and rock. We might even like to draw circles with the knees, and that just changes how we are massaging the low back right now. If we would like, we are welcome to come into any twist of our choosing towards the right. That's anything we need. Maybe we place our feet down and simply let our knees knock over towards the right. Maybe we like to shift our hips to the left and then let our whole set of legs come over towards that right side. Hands could stay where they are. Some might reach them out like we drew the letter T. Some might bend the elbows like we're doing cactus arms. It's up to us. We'll just try our best to breathe in. And we'll try our best to breathe out. One more full breath. Now if we can, we'll come back to center. We'll try it in the opposite direction. So in whatever it is we might need here. And we'll try our best to breathe in. We'll try our best to breathe out. Can we give this another full breath? If we are ready, we are welcome to come back to center. And again, we might hug the knees in, we might rock a little bit. So we might come to our supine bound angle. We can let our feet come down and the soles of the feet can meet as the knees go out. Again, we want to check in, how are my knees? How is my tailbone area? If either area is disagreeing, we have the option of either placing something underneath our legs, like pillows or couch cushions or whatever we need. And if that doesn't work, we're welcome to do the inverse of this pose, where we bring our knees up, they knock into each other, we walk our feet away from each other. I like to call these pyramid legs, because we've effectively made a pyramid with those legs. So again, whatever version we found here, I invite you to take a few moments, and maybe we can close our eyes, maybe not. If it's possible, can we notice how it feels to be in this pose? Can we notice how our back feels against our mat? And maybe we just take a full breath in, and the exhale helps something start to relax. So again, we might take a full breath in, and maybe on our exhale, our shoulders can start to relax. So again, maybe that full breath in, and on the exhale, they start to relax. So if we can, I invite you to come back to that balloon breathing, and we can keep it purely visual. I'm imagining a balloon inhaling or inflating on my inhale, and the exhale deflates it. We might think of our rib cage like that balloon. The inhale fills up the rib cage, expanding out in all directions, and the exhale just brings it back. We can stay with the rib cage breathing. If we want to practice our belly breath, I invite you to let that balloon travel to the belly. And on the inhale, the belly inflates. And on the exhale, it deflates. We might like to have our hands on the belly if we're doing that, feeling the rise and eventually the fall. Maybe we can give that another full breath in, a full breath out. And what we do next is up to us. We might stay here. At least in this particular video, we will get about 1 to 2 minutes of Shavasana. If we know we want longer, I invite you to pause this video, set a timer on your phone, and give yourself that extra rest. But in between now and the end of that Shavasana is whatever we need. We might stay in this pose. Another option is to come out. Some might like to come out and come into pyramid legs, or come out and then straighten the legs along the length of their mat. Whatever we need here. We can even rest on our side or in child's pose, or even in an easy seat. But I do invite you to give yourself a few minutes for rest if you can. I'll play my singing bowls somewhat gently, as I'm not sure how my microphone will react. And at the end of that, I will ring my chimes and help guide us back to an easy seat. What we do between now and then is entirely within our power. invite you to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Before laying down, we might do a little stretch through our fingers and toes and let that turn into a stretch through the arms and legs. We'll add on movement as movement feels right. Maybe we stretch our arms up and overhead. If we are ready, we will bring ourselves back to an easy seat, and we have the option of letting our eyes remain or become closed. Some people like to roll to one side and then slowly guide themselves up, but we want to make that time our own. And once we're there, we'll settle into the easy seat of our choosing. We could let our hands come back together at the heart, maybe palms together, maybe palms over the heart. And we'll pause for a moment. We'll seal in our practice with that moment of gratitude. And today we might just ask ourselves, if gratitude were a physical sensation, what would gratitude feel like in my body? And then whatever meaning of namaste resonates, and perhaps today it is the strength within me recognizes the strength within you. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your practice. Namaste.